In America, we usually use three words to describe Thanksgiving: food, football, and family. This Thanksgiving, however, is a little bit different. I'd replace football with fighting. And that's because I'm a UFC fan. And on Thanksgiving, Dana White, president of the UFC, decided to bless us with the long-rumored Conor McGregor and Donald Cerone fight. It has been announced that that fight will take place on January 18th. And what is the most compelling part of this, the most interesting part of this fight, is the weight it's going to be held at. 170 pounds. In Conor McGregor's return fight, he'll be taking on Donald Cerone in his home weight class of welterweight. I am scared for Conor McGregor. The last time we saw Conor McGregor fight was at 154 pounds and 155 pounds. He lost both those fights to Floyd Mayweather in his sport of boxing and to Khabib Nurmagomedov. Let me get one thing straight. There is no shame in losing either of those fights. Khabib Nurmagomedov might go down as the UFC GOAT. If the fight that has just been announced, Tony Ferguson versus Khabib, if Tony Ferguson cannot defeat Khabib Nurmagomedov, nobody is beating Khabib. Nobody will beat Khabib. Khabib will go down undefeated, and quite possibly undisputed as the GOAT. But losing to Floyd Mayweather and Khabib, there is no shame in that. Conor McGregor won rounds in that boxing against Floyd Mayweather. I don't care what the ref scored. Boxing is quite possibly the most corrupt sport in the world. Maybe in the history of the world. Boxing, it might be the most corrupt organizational sport ever. And Conor McGregor won rounds in my book. And anybody with eyes. Against Khabib. Did you know Conor McGregor is the only person to take a round from Khabib on judges' scorecards? Did you know that? The only person to take a round from Khabib on a judge's scorecard is Conor McGregor. And I get it. Conor McGregor, in my eyes, is a one-dimensional fighter. And now before you get up in arms about that, there is nothing wrong with being a one-dimensional fighter. Hell, Khabib is. But there's nothing wrong with that if you're one of the best in the world at doing it, which they both are. Conor McGregor is one of the best strikers in the world. Maybe in the history of the UFC. He is outstanding standing up. But since he's one-dimensional, he gets into trouble if he's not knocking you out. And that's where it comes into play in this fight at 170. This is Donald Cerrone's home turf. Donald Cerone is one of the most decorated UFC fighters ever. Ever. He holds the all-time UFC record for wins at 23. He holds the all-time UFC record for finishes with 16. Most post-fight bonuses with 18. Most knockdowns with 20. And he holds a UFC record for most head knockouts via head kick with 7. Donald Cerone is not a slouch when it comes to striking. What the problem is with Conor McGregor is that what it appears to be when he fought at 170 most recently against Nate Diaz, that he looked different. Looked like his power might not have been enough. The reason Conor McGregor lost the first fight with Nate Diaz was because no matter what he threw at Nate, it didn't work. It didn't work. Conor threw everything he had on him and he eventually gassed out. And eventually got choked. He gassed out because he threw everything he had at Nate, including the kitchen sink, and nothing worked. And I get it. Nate Diaz might have one of the best chins ever. We just saw him get mauled by Jorge Masvidal, and the only reason the fight was stopped was because of a cut. And Nate Diaz cuts from the wind. Conor McGregor, though, looked to lose power, or his power might not have been enough when he moved up to 170. And against Donald Cerone, if Conor doesn't knock him out, this fight gets a hell of a lot more interesting. It's like if I told you Deontay Wilder was fighting and he wouldn't knock somebody out. You would be a lot more hesitant to put money on Deontay Wilder. You'd be scared to. I wouldn't put money on it. I'd be nervous. If I tell you Deontay Wilder doesn't knock somebody out, you'd be, how does he not knock somebody out? It's Deontay Wilder. You've been to second guess yourself. And that's what I'm thinking with Conor McGregor versus Donald Cerone. if Conor McGregor has only gone to decision twice in his career, and he's only won by decision twice. He's 2 for 2. Max Holloway and Nate Diaz the second time. The Nate Diaz second time could have gone either way. But history says that if Conor McGregor does not knock out Donald Cerone, the chances are that he might not win. Conor is not a submission specialist. He's nothing special on the ground. He was pretty good at stuffing Khabib's takedowns early on in the fight. But still, I don't see anything that tells me that if he doesn't knock him out, there's a good chance he's going to win. He's not going to take him to the ground and pound him. This is a very interesting move by Conor. He is taking a risk, especially this late in his career. Let's just say Conor wins this fight. He could bounce around from 170 down to 155, all he'd like, but I don't see him going any lower than 155 at this point in his career. Especially after he's made all this money in the octagon, in the boxing ring, and outside with his whiskey business and other ventures. I don't see him cutting this much weight anymore in his career. Why should he? Why should he? He's made more money than possibly any other UFC fighter ever. Why would he worry about cutting weight at this point? But he has options here. At 170, he has a lot of options. Not his options, feasible options. I don't see him going back against Khabib and the outcome being any different. I don't. Khabib's just that good. But Conor has a lot of options at 170. He could finish his trilogy with Diaz. He could take on a Leon Edwards or another top contender. Or he could do what I think he's going to do. I think Conor McGregor is going to go after Jorge Masvidal. I don't recommend it, but I think he is. And the reason why is because Dana White came out and said that Conor McGregor is not going to be fighting Jorge Masvidal because Jorge is too big for Conor McGregor. Now, do I necessarily disagree with this or agree with this? It's a toss-up for me. It's a toss-up. As long as he makes the weight, Conor McGregor has a chance. It's not like an Israel Adesanya fighting John Jones where the size is that big of a difference. Israel Adesanya has a better chance of getting a 170 than he does to getting a 205 to fight John Jones. Just as a heads up. But Jorge Masvidal, again, Conor McGregor and Jorge Masvidal, you want to talk about bringing in money? That fight could come out tomorrow and I'm buying the pay-per-view. That fight would make so much money, and the only thing Dana White likes more than Conor McGregor is money. That is the only thing Dana White likes more than Conor McGregor is cold, hard cash. But there's one thing that I've learned. Is not to tell Conor McGregor what he can do. You can't go in and fight Floyd Mayweather. He did, and he got rounds against him. You stand no chance against Khabib. He eventually got choked out. But he took rounds on a scorecard. He took a round on a scorecard. Everything they've said Conor McGregor can't do, he's attempted. Has he succeeded in all of them? No. But he's came pretty damn close. Dana White saying that he cannot take on Jorge Masvidal due to the size difference is going to infuriate Conor McGregor to the point where he's going to chase Jorge Masvidal. Will he reach him? I don't know, because he has to get through Donald Cerone. And that is no easy feat. Donald Cerone is legit. Yes, he's coming off a loss, but so is Conor. That's how the UFC works. Usually fighters coming off a loss face fighters coming off another loss. Fighters coming off a win face fighters coming off a win. It's just how it works. It's an unspoken rule. Now, people like Conor, though, Conor could have gotten a fighter that was coming off a win. Conor has not much power. He's not much of a draw. He could have gotten that fight if he wanted to. But for a while, all we've been hearing Donald Cerone being in the lead. The only thing that was confusing, the only thing that really conflicted it, was Frankie Edgar at 155. Towards the end, we were getting as fans, we were getting led on to believe that Conor McGregor wound up taking on Frankie Edgar at 155. And Dana White then flips it and says he's fighting Donald Cerone at 170. It's a pretty drastic change of events. 170 is dangerous for Conor. He has a lot of options, but it's a lot more risky than going back to 155 and working his way up. It's interesting to me. I find it very interesting that in your first fight back, you're going to welterweight and you're taking on Donald Cerone. If Conor McGregor doesn't knock him out, I think this is Donald's fight the whole way. I think this is Cowboy's fight the entire way. That's all for today, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.